Thank you, Tom. Hello, everyone. We'd like to present to you our app, Livable. But first, here's the team behind it. My name is Daniel Manfield. I'm a Navy veteran, and I worked on the front and back end.
My name's Steve Lawless. I was an Air Force linguist and I worked on front end and some design.
Hello, I'm Michael Zura. I worked on the front end and I'm an Air Force vet.
I'm also an Air Force vet, Isaiah Bragg. Spent my time as an aeronautical engineer, and most of my time on this project was in the back end. So, pop quiz. What is the first rule of real estate? You get it? It's location. Second rule, location also. Third rule, see rules 1 and 2. Location is so important to real estate. You can upgrade countertops, you can paint walls, and you can add that plush, super nice wide plank flooring. You could even add on another bedroom, but you can't change location. But we don't care about just any good location for anybody. It needs to be the right location for you. However, the current tech offerings today do not have a value-based approach to help you determine if a location is right for you. They focus on narrowing your search by square foot, bedrooms, and pretty pictures, which is fine, but they are missing the first, second, and third rules of real estate. Homebuyers are forced to do their research alone. Technology allows us to experience the world in a very personalized way. Netflix homepages look different for everybody. My Amazon suggestions are unique to my shopping habits. My Instagram, creepily enough, knows exactly what I want to buy before I even do. Why wouldn't I want to ensure that the biggest purchase I make is unique to me as well? This is exactly why Livable was created. Livable lets you decide what matters to you. What do you like to spend your time doing? Are you interested in staying active outside or at the gym? Is the school your kids go to the very most important thing in determining where you'll live? Livable isn't for those just looking for a pretty house. It's for those that want to live. It's for those that know that a house is just the launch pad for your life. It's a place to take off from and explore what makes you unique, engaged, excited, healthy, and happy. In a world where many knowledge workers have the ability to choose where they want to live, regardless of job location, Livable can help them find the home that's just right for them. With our algorithm, we intake your preferences and provide a score for a location to help you compare it to other spots. We also pair your scores with maps and graphical representations of the data to help you make sense of your score. We help you find your Livable. And now I'll hand it off to Steve to walk you through the app and how Livable actually works. Steve?
Thanks, Isaiah. As Isaiah said, Livable lets you go beyond what sites like Zillow or Realtor.com give you in terms of information, and it allows you to find out if that nice house you're looking at really is for you. After surviving my first winter in Chicago in a decade, I'm ready to go somewhere warm. So let's say I get a job working at a certain game publisher in California. In anticipation of the big move, I start looking at houses near the office, and I found a really nice looking 3-bedroom house that's also in the area. Well, that house itself looks really nice. I know nothing about the area, and like Isaiah said, it's all about location, so I turned to Livable. After quickly signing up, I'm given access to a form into which I can enter my work address if I want to include it in calculating my score. Next, I can select how close I would prefer to be to different things. I'd like to not sit in traffic every morning to go to work, so I'll set the work slider to 10. Additionally, I don't want to go too out of my way to go grocery shopping or get food, so I'll set that to 10 too. Well, I enjoy getting out of the house and doing things sometimes. I'm mostly a homebody, so I'll set this to 5. Also, I'm childless and I have no plans to have kids in the next few years. I'll be starting school anytime soon, and I don't want to deal with those dang kids on my lawn, so I'll keep the slider at 0. And lastly, when I do go out on the town, I usually like to go see a concert or a movie. So I'd like to be close to theaters and live venues, so I'll set that to 10. After I save my preferences, they will be used to calculate what we call the livability score, or in other words, how well an area suits you based on what you decide you want to be close to. Now that I'm at the main screen, I'll put in the address of the house that I found earlier. After that, we'll travel to the area and then be presented with our livability score. All right, 100 out of 100, nice. We also get a brief overview here of things like the average income for the area, its crime score compared to the national average, how much of the housing in the area is occupied by renters versus owners, and a by-category breakdown of your livability score for that area. Here we can also see that most categories have a perfect score, meaning that the house is close to at least some shopping, food, entertainment, and recreation. And since both the house and the workplace are within a few miles of each other, I get a really good score there too. On the remaining tabs of the page, I can look at a map that corresponds to each of the preferences that we chose earlier. Here we can see some local schools, and then our food options. Next, we can see some shopping around the house, and also some parks and other recreation. Lastly, we have entertainment values that are near the house. While this house is really nice, close to work, and in a good area for me, it's also on the market for $2.5 million. So I went and found a more affordable house that I'd also like to check out. Also, I changed my mind about some of my preferences, deciding to be less curmudgeonly when it comes to kids, and now I want less noise and crowds, so I want to be away from live venues. So after putting in the address and checking out our score, we see that this house is a lower score than the first, but this is mainly due to it being farther away from work. And I like both houses, but for almost $2 million less, I think I'll choose the second house. Now, I'll let Daniel talk about the tech and some of what's going on behind the scenes of Livable.
Thanks, Steve, for the awesome demo. So for the front end, we use React.js, Chart.js for the graphs, React Globe for the awesome background animation, and some styling components for Material UI. For the back end, we use Python and Django, utilizing Django REST Framework and JSON Web Token for user authentication. For our database, we use Postgres. Google had a lot of APIs for us to try out, but we eventually just went with Google Maps and Google Places. We used Atom to get the neighborhood data for the graphs and OpenTripMap for the map marker data. There were a lot of crime APIs we tried to use. However, none of the data that was being returned matched how we wanted to display it. This leads me to our next topic, our stretch goals. We wanted to include a heat map that showed crime levels near the address provided. Unfortunately, we could not find an API for crime that was one, free, or two, provided the data that we needed to create that heat map. Another feature we would like to develop is the ability for a user to save and compare results. We're already storing the data needed to accomplish this. We just need to display it on the user's profile. Our original goal was to have a user provide a desired city or state, fill out their preferences, and we would then scan for the perfect neighborhood based on the inputs. With the new world of remote work, users might be interested in moving somewhere they would have never even considered living. We want to use machine learning to tackle this stretch goal. I'll now pass it on to Michael, and we'll talk about some of the challenges faced.
Thank you, Daniel. For our challenges, during the planning stages of our app, we found out that websites like Zillow, Realtor.com, and Trillia already provides information we are going to have in Livable. We needed to differentiate our app from the others and ended up making a property matchmaking app. With so many third-party APIs to choose from, finding APIs that were reliable and allowed many calls was time-consuming, which led to the problem with scope in our scoring system that had to be based off number of calls allowed to each API. So, if you have found a property but I'm not sure if the surrounding area meets your needs, please visit Livable. This concludes our overview of the Livable app. We would now like to answer any questions you may have.
Awesome job, Livable. We have a couple of questions from the chat. Did you run into any conflicting data issues between your data sources and APIs? If so, how did you handle those challenges?
I can take this. I don't think we ran into conflicting data issues. There was definitely issues that we ran into trying to integrate all the APIs together, and that was just a learning curve that we hit. As far as data, it was pretty easy to parse through and work together with.
What did that data look like, and also what was the biggest challenge that you came across during development?
I think that the crime APIs was the biggest challenge we came across. That's something we definitely wanted to use for a heat map, but there were just no crime APIs out there that provided the data that we needed to create that heat map. Any of you other guys have anything else to say about that?
Yeah, there's a lot of that can get into a little bit of political discussion though about crime and how it's reported and how it's managed at each local police station. But we learned a little bit more about that through this project.
Awesome. Is this specifically for US, or say I want to go to Europe? Or
yeah, currently it's only in the US based on the APIs that we had available to us at the time. But I'm sure we could source out other data sources.
Awesome. Yep, that concludes the questions from the chat.